Good afternoon. I assure you that you do not have deja vu. I picked the wrong link for the daily Bible chapter, so my apologies for that. If you want to know what was meant for today, which would have been chapter 11, I did put that out this morning, and I'll just play it tomorrow. So that gives me a day. I don't have to worry about the Bible chapter when I get up in the morning, although I'll probably worry about it anyway and get the next day's done. Be nice if maybe I start getting a day ahead at least on that. Anyway, lots of stuff to cover. I think today the best way to spend time on the monologue is I've got several articles pulled out, and I think each and every article is of utmost importance right now. I believe each one of them, a lot of them different areas of different things going on, and definitely all things that we need to keep a close eye on. I will briefly go over the article that I did a report out earlier today because I want to make sure that people hear this. This is getting a lot of backlash, and we'll get there momentarily. But let's go ahead and go on over to Twitter. And last night, David J. Harris came out with a video, and I was just absolutely shocked, and I'm still shocked. I can't believe it. He came out with a video last night. Apparently, in California, they have given or they have passed a law that the say your counselors, your psychiatrists, your psychologists, your pastors, ministers, any type of clergy, nobody can talk to another individual about sexual curiosity. So in other words, if a young person would come to talk to a healthcare professional, right, or a clergy member and say, "Hey, look, I'm confused. I'm having these thoughts. I'm confused." That by law, they are not allowed to discuss it with them. That is insane. That is incredibly, incredibly insane. And again, it would be one thing for certain individuals, maybe because not everybody's got the got the best head on their shoulders, But and I wouldn't say the healthcare professionals are the best to go to, just to be honest. But really, I mean, really, that is beyond comprehension to me. So anyway, David J. Harris Jr. is the one that put that out. I would urge you to check out his video if you want to know a little bit more about it. Okay, so let's get started on this. I'm gonna kind of jump back and forth in between Twitter, I think, and the or actually I'll just read through Twitter and then I'll go through and start going through these tabs I have open. That's how I'll do it. So anyway, let's see. Crazy. Two Gardena police officers charged with illegally selling more than 100 guns. So we've got the teens out there telling everybody that they need to give their guns up, and we've got police officers out there selling guns, illegally selling guns. And in one case that they know of anyway, he sold it. They sold it to a felon. So interesting. Now I have my own thoughts on that. I have my thoughts on gun laws. I don't think there should be any such thing as a gun law, but and that would include felons. Yeah, I mean, just point blank. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people out there that carry that big F on their shoulders, and they don't deserve it. Absolutely, do not deserve it. And it's becoming more and more and more. In fact, in some states, including Missouri, is one of them that's trying to get legislation passed to where if you get in trouble for bullying in school, that will be a felony. Okay, now from my experience, usually the person that actually faces any repercussions or problems from bullying is the victim, because they put up with it and put up with it, and next thing you know, they get mad enough that they strike back, they punch the bully, and which is the way to take care of the problem. And then next thing you know, they're the ones that get suspended. They're the ones that's facing problems for standing up for themselves. That's crazy. So anyway, that is one of the articles we will get to momentarily. Fire alarm in Siberia shopping mall out of order since March 19th. Putin is launching an investigation into this. Putin is pretty upset about this whole deal with 56 people. That was the number yesterday. That's the last number I'm aware of. 56 people perished in that fire in that shopping mall. Moscow lambasts, lying U.S. accusations over Skripal case. Crazy. Skripal case showed that they are not many independent players left, says Lavrov. And I do have a story on that, by the way. Vote leave cheating could have been swayed. Brexit, says Cambridge Analytica whistleblower to MPs. Boris Johnson answers questions day after EU-US expel Russian diplomats. Now, he answers questions, but I've got something I'm going to read to you that Mattis had to say about this. It's kind of funny. They talk about the whole Russia collusion thing, a witch hunt. Really? That the whole Russia collusion doesn't have nothing on the witch hunt for Putin and anything they can come up with. It's just insane. Theresa May promises more long-term measures against Russia. Bataclan survivor Jesse Hughes calls March of Our Lives pathetic. Okay, wow, and he even called the young lady that has become a poster child for gun control. He even called her a traitor. Now we're talking about a survivor of a very deadly mass shooting, right? And no mass shooting is good. But what happened in Florida pales in comparison to what happened at the Bataclan. And here he is, a survivor of that. And he's saying, do not give up the guns. In fact, right there you can see it says the Eagles of Death metal frontman also compared handing in guns to prevent gun violence to men dismembering themselves to end rape. Makes perfect sense. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Here's the report that I had done. Like I said, I'm going to read over that just real quick. Let's see. Russia's permanent representative to EU speaks to RT on diplomatic fallout. Moldova declares 3 Russian diplomats persona non grata. I probably messed that all up. Persona, I think. I don't know. Who knows? Make it up yourself. NATO Stoltenberg announces sanctions against Russia over Skripal case. Trump and Merkel praise NATO sanctions against Russia. That's one of the articles I'm going to go over. U.S. extends national emergency over malicious cyber activities. You hear this? Malicious cyber activities. Yes, Trump's Netflix account was apparently breached. No, I'm kidding. The reason I said that is because it's like, wait, what malicious cyber activities? Huh? What? The only malicious cyber activities that I know of is all the data collection that's happening on us. That is the malicious cyber activities that's happening, folks. I'm not saying that there's not attacks and yada, 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 but trust me, this is an excuse to do things pretty much to screw us in the end. Again. And we won't be the only ones. They're not out to protect us. If you think they're out to protect us, then maybe you should talk to the students that went to that Florida school. If you think that the government is there to protect us. Oh, wait, you can't speak to those students. That's right. Belgium decides to expel 1 Russian diplomat. Ooh. They pulled all the plugs with that one. Let's see. Terrorists preparing chemical attack in Idlib, says the Syrian UN envoy. Paul Manafort moves to dismiss Mueller indictment. That's interesting. Still doesn't mean nothing, but interesting. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu taken to the hospital. So, if you want to pray for a slow recovery or none at all, Or if you want to pray for recovery, feel anyway, I'll get myself in trouble there if I keep on. All right, let's go. Let's do this. Let me go ahead and get this one out of the way real quick. This is the story I covered earlier. I'm just going to read through it real quick just in case you missed the video I put out earlier today. Utah becomes first state to legalize free-range parenting. And I'm recovering this, by the way, because this is like enormously important. Utah has legalized a controversial child rearing method known as free-range parenting. You know, back in the day, they just called it parenting, encouraging children to be independent. Governor Gary Herbert signed the bill, which states it's not neglectful for parents to allow their kids to do the following without adult supervision: walk to and from school, play outside, be in a car unattended, and stay home alone. You know, back in the day they called being children. Wow. The law states that children must be mature enough to handle each situation, though it does not specify an age. It's believed to be the first legislation of its kind in the United States and takes effect May 8th. Insane. And I'll tell you what, I commend them for writing it this way. And like I said in that video earlier, you know, some kids, hell, some adults aren't mature enough to supervise themselves, okay? So, but at the same time, some kindergartners are like crazy mature. And no, I'm not saying I advocate leaving kindergartners home alone, or I'm not saying that before anybody like goes, oh, you know, no, not saying that. But you know what I am saying is different kids mature at different rates. And there are some kids that are very, very young that are absolutely mature. Back in the day, we're going back to the day again, right? Back in the day, there were instances to where 8-year-olds were taking care of siblings all by themselves, home alone, and did a damn fine job, right? Insane. And I'm not saying it should be that way. I'm not saying that that's even necessarily okay. And I'm not saying that parents are you know, shouldn't have that amount of freedom. What I'm saying is parents shouldn't be put in that position to have to do that. That's a shame, right? That's a shame to begin with. Anyway, let me continue. Utah lawmakers said they were prompted to pass the law after seeing cases where parents had their children temporarily removed when people reported seeing the kids playing basketball in their yards or walking to school alone, the Associated Press reported. 2 activities that should be absolutely forbidden. Demand all the basketballs now. Demand them now. Pop them and turn them into your local police department. We cannot have kids playing basketball. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine the havoc? The havoc. It would be the wild, wild west, right? If we let kids play basketball. Oh my God. And softball? Oh, we better start banning them out of the stores right now. Somebody might lose a window. It's insane. Isn't this insane? Isn't it, you know, what's really insane, and Evil kind of pointed this out to me earlier in chat, what is really, really insane with all this is that a state has to pass a law. I mean, really, a state has to pass a law to say, hey, leave parents alone. Let parents be parents. That is the craziest thing about all of this. It really is. Really is. See, we aren't supposed to have laws to protect us because we have the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Those are there to protect us, right? Those are there to limit government. We shouldn't have to go back and make laws in order to protect us from the government. We're not the ones that's supposed to be limited. They are. Insane. Republican Senator Lincoln Fillmore of South Jordan has said allowing kids to try things alone helps prepare them for the future. Meanwhile, others are concerned the law could be used as a defense in child abuse cases if not carefully deployed. And I'm sure that, you know, things will be considered, right? If there's an issue that comes up, I'm sure it will be considered. Look at all the children that die or get neglected in the care of parents. Hell, some kids might take better care of themselves by themselves. I mean, duh. Arkansas considered a similar free-range kids bill last year, but their representatives were spineless. Oh, wait, no, sorry, but ultimately rejected it after receiving pushback from critics who said it was too dangerous to leave children unsupervised. Probably too dangerous to leave them unsupervised. See the crap they come up with? Anyway, enough talking about the parents that are scared of their own shadow. Let's go ahead and move on. The next story that I want to cover real quick is the Gardena police officers, right? Hey, see something, say something. If you need a gun, go to a cop, right? 2 Gardena police officers have been indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of using their position to acquire firearms and illegally selling more than 100 of the weapons to others, including a convicted felon. Detective Carlos Miguel Fernandez, 42, Officer Edward Yashishiro Arao, something like that, 47, and they're going to say his last name 10 times, you watch, face a combined 5 felony counts, including conspiring to deal in firearms without a license, according to an indictment unsealed Friday in the U.S. District Court. Why was it sealed to begin with? Why shouldn't the public know about thugs illegally selling firearms? Why should that be sealed? Huh. Yeah, exactly. What could they be hiding, or why would they need to hide it? In one 2017 sale, Fernandez knew he was selling to a straw buyer who wasn't the actual person getting the gun, according to the indictment. The person who eventually received the weapon was a convicted felon banned from possessing firearms. Your tax dollars go for this, folks. Fernandez of Norwalk advertised guns for sale on his Instagram account because he's a genius. The 38 Superman, according to the indictment. Arao, that's the first time, chief executive of Ronin Tactical Group. Oh, great. He owns a gun company. A federal firearms licensee, that makes it even better, right? Also used that company's Instagram account to sell firearms, the indictment alleges. So we're talking about an IQ of about, 2. The 25-page indictment alleges that from 2015 to September of 2017, the 2 officers exploited each other. Their positions to deal 101 firearms. Got to be 101 because we can't stop them. We can't stop them from selling guns until they go over 100. 101? Get them, Dano. To people barred from owning or selling such weapons unless they are in law enforcement or the military. It marks the latest move by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. They just need to add a few more words to their name, don't they? And sex toys, and I don't know. To curtail the abuse of privileges afforded police officers in purchasing firearms. The indictment comes 3 weeks after Pasadena police lieutenant, who formerly served as the department's spokesman, was indicted on federal charges of selling dozens of guns without a license. Previously, the ATF issued a memorandum to Southern California police chiefs warning that sales of illegal firearms is an emerging problem for officers. But we gotta trust them, right? Trust them. Turn in your guns, right? You can trust the blue line. Sorry. We are deeply concerned about the case, said Gardena Police Chief Ed Medrano. This type of conduct is inconsistent with our organizational values and the ethics of our profession and will not be tolerated by the Gardena Police Department. Had they not been caught like the morons they were. No, never mind. In California, firearms manufactured, imported, sold, or lent must be on a roster of handguns because it's California that are deemed safe. Only those who are exempt, including, police officers, the ones you can trust to sell guns illegally, can purchase so-called off-roster guns, because you can trust them. Arao of Eastvale, that's number 2 by the way, obtained off-roster guns from an inventory of Ronin Tactical Group, the indictment alleges. Though messages on Instagram and other means, Fernandez and Arao, that's 3, negotiated prices and terms of firearm sales and accepted payment for the guns once they were delivered, according to the indictment. The pair would also market off-roster firearms at gun shows. Neither Fernandez nor, number 4, was licensed to deal firearms, the charges allege. I have no idea how to say that name. Let's see. The indictment naming the officers was unsealed Friday afternoon after 2 other named defendants in the case were arraigned in federal court on charges that they engaged in a straw purchase involving a gun sold through Fernandez. Thank God it wasn't sold through the other guy, because I'd have to try and say his name again. Oscar Morales Camacho Sr., hey, that one's rough, but I can get it, 63, of Salinas, falsely certified that he was purchasing a firearm for himself in a July 2017 private party transfer. In fact, he was buying the gun for his son, Oscar Maravilla Camacho Jr., 34, also of Salinas, according to the indictment. Probably not even getting the name of the town right. Camacho Jr., that reminds me of somebody, wasn't he a wrestler or something, Camacho? Or, I don't know. Anyway, I'll continue before I make myself look even more goofy. Has a prior criminal conviction that prohibits him from possessing firearms. The indictment alleges that Fernandez and both of the Camachos well knew that defendant Camacho Sr. was not the actual buyer of the firearm. Both of the Camachos pleaded not guilty at their arraignments last week. They were ordered to stand trial May 31st. The firearm involved was a Colt Commander .38 caliber pistol. Fernandez, according to the indictment, would frequently have direct message conversations with buyers who spotted his Instagram posts, including one transaction in which he advertised a Colt .38 Super LW Commander 100% authentic, locked and loaded for sale. That weapon and others can fetch boutique prices in California. The indictment alleges a second straw purchase in which South Los Angeles woman bought 2 firearms for her boyfriend, Bianca Elizabeth Iberia, 23, and Alberto de Jesus Vasquez Palayo Jr., also of South Los Angeles, are charged with making a false statement in federal firearms licensees' records during the purchase of a firearm. Fernandez is named in 3 counts of the indictments and Arroyo in 2 counts. Each count carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison. Maximum, folks. Maximum. Think about how long the Hammonds have been behind bars, right? For doing what every rancher out there does. Okay? There's another gentleman. What did he get? 80 years or something like that? Or looking at 80 years? Somebody, a land issue again? I would have to go look and find the article again. This is insane, right? This is insane. Absolutely nuts. The 2 officers, along with Ibarra and Palayo, are slated to also appear in the U.S. District Court in Los Angeles on April 3rd. That's a maximum sentence of 5 years. Considering that they're part of the mob, I doubt they'll get 5 minutes. Probation. Wow. Wow. All right, continuing on. Trump, Merkel praise NATO sanctions against Russia, says the White House. And let me just kind of read through this as quick as I can. Earlier in the day, NATO also introduced anti-Russian measures over the Skripal case, which had already been supported by a number of the EU states as well as by the US, Canada, and Australia. US President Donald Trump and German Chancellor Angela Merkel applauded the decision of NATO and some European Union nations to expel Russian diplomats over the Sergei Skripal case, the White House said in a readout after a phone call between the 2 leaders on Tuesday. Let's see. Previously, I'm not going to read the quotes. Previously, another U.S. official commented on NATO's move. U.S. General Jim Mad Dog Mattis delivered a strong message to Moscow, stating that the decision of NATO to withdraw accreditation of 7 members of the Russian mission was a statement to those who doubted the unity of the alliance. Mattis also called the Skripal's poisoning attempted murder, adding that Russian President Vladimir Putin should be held responsible as the head of state. The defense secretary went on to say that though Russia has the potential to be a partner with Europe, but right now the country has chosen to seek a different relationship with the NATO members. I would too. The statements from the American side came after NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg announced sanctions against Russia in connection to the poisoning of the Skripals, which has been blamed on Moscow. Earlier in the response to the Skripal case, U.S. President Donald Trump ordered the removal of 60 Russian diplomats, which is the largest expulsion in the history of U.S.-Russia ties. The U.S. move came despite Trump's previous promise to improve relations with Moscow. See, I'm noticing a trend here with Trump. Words come out, but his actions do nothing to match the words. All in all, on Monday, about 100 Russian diplomats were expelled from 16 European countries, as well as the U.S., Canada, and Australia. Commenting on the move, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov noted that anti-Russian measures introduced over the Skripal case demonstrate how few independent countries remain in the modern world. That is so true. That is so true. I can tell you 3, right? I can tell you 3. Syria, Iran, and North Korea. I find that interesting. On March 4th, British intelligence agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Julia were exposed to a poisonous substance. The British side claimed that the Russian state was involved in the case, as nerve agent A234 was allegedly developed in the Soviet Union. These purported conclusions prompted the UK to remove 23 Russian diplomats in response. Russia denies all these claims, calling them unfounded, and suggested its participation in the investigation into the case. So unlike, due process that you have over here, they're not even giving them proper due process. I mean, isn't that insane? That's insane to me. It really is. Absolutely insane. But by the way, right, they don't have to give Russia due process. But hell, we can't even get Hillary Clinton in a courtroom. Interesting. Talk about a sideshow of circus, you know what I mean? Circus, sideshow, whatever. U.S. extends national emergency over malicious cyber activities. This is just a really short article here. The United States has extended the national emergency over malicious cyber activities that continue to present a major threat to national security, President Donald Trump announced in a notice posted in the Federal Register on Tuesday. He said these significant malicious cyber-enabled activities continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, the notice said. For this reason, the national emergency declared on April 1, 2015 must continue in effect beyond April 1, 2018. Once they get that power, folks, they will not let it up. They will not let it up. That allows them to do so much more, especially along the lines of data collection and everything else. The threat was posed by the increasing prevalence and severity of malicious cyber-enabled activities originating from or directed by persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States, the notice said. The state of national emergency was introduced in 2015 by then-President Obama in order to create a basis for freezing the assets of those allegedly involved in hacking campaigns. In December 2016, the order was amended to also sanction those carrying out cyber attacks in a bid to disrupt presidential elections. I don't know. Yeah, I think really one of the best things that could happen in this country would be the loss of television. That's number one, the loss of television. Number two, I think the loss of communication. And I mean that. No phones, no internet. Make people get outside, speak face to face with one another again, right? Maybe grill up some burgers or something like that. Like people used to do. I guarantee you one thing. The world would turn out a lot better, at least the country would. And I bet you the mass shootings would stop in the schools. I bet you they would. I bet you they would. And here's another article I'll real quick read through. Terrorists preparing chemical attack in Idlib, says Syrian UN envoy. And this is not surprising to me, but yet it will get blamed on Syria and Bashar al-Assad. Damascus has revealed that a number of foreign specialists are working, United States, uh, are working on staging a chemical attack which will be extensively covered by Western media and will involve the notorious White Helmets group. It always does. Why? Because the White Helmets, in my opinion, I think are the ones that's placing them. I think they are the ones that's actually, enabling the attack. It only makes sense. It's amazing how they're always at the right place at the right time. Right? Always at the right there, right? It's like when we have one of these false flag nightmares in this country. You've got everybody on scene already. Everybody within moments is there. You've got the FBI, you've got the BATFE, you've got everybody there within moments. Within moments. Like they're just hanging out. Another false flag incident featuring chemical weapons in Syria may take place in Idlib province, where terrorists are operating in the instigation of several Western countries, Syria's permanent representative at the United Nations said on March 27. State sponsors of terrorism have instructed the terrorists to use chemical weapons again, Bashar Jafari stated. This theatrical gesture will be carried out with the participation of a number of countries, the White Helmets, and will be covered in Western media, he said, adding that foreign experts preparing the attack will involve women and children. Of course they will. I mean, look at what they're doing here, right, when it comes to gun control. Jafari specified that the presumed attack will see poisonous gas used against civilians. The victims will be transferred to Israeli hospitals. This all will take place in on the Syria-Turkey border, he noted. Well, yeah, because that's where they've got the green light to do a lot of stuff right now. The same warnings were issued by the Russian Center for Syrian Reconciliation in January. They reported that Syrian terrorists were preparing provocations involving chemical warfare agents in eastern Ghouta, which, they said, would be used by Western states as a pretext for accusing Damascus of the use of chemical weapons against the Syrian civilian population. Another case of alleged chemical weapons use was reported on January 26 by the White Helmets, a Syrian opposition civil defense group operating in militant-held areas, claiming that 3 civilians had been killed and dozens more were wounded in suspected chlorine gas attack on eastern Ghouta. That's just like, folks, a lot of the ones that were going and getting intelligence from foreign countries were actors and performers of one sort or another. Athletes, right? They were going to these other countries. The other countries just welcomed them in, right? And they were actually working for intelligence. And that happened. There's a lot of them. It's not just, there is a lot of them. Ask Anderson Cooper. He'll tell you about it. Following this report, U.S. State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert accused Syrian authorities of staging this attack, which was vehemently rejected by Damascus. Despite no evidence of chemical weapons use having been provided so far, just like the Skripal case, Syrian authorities have been repeatedly accused of using chemical weapons against civilians in the conflict which began in 2011. Damascus, in its turn, has repeatedly refuted all claims on chemical weapons use, insisting that all the country's stockpiles had been destroyed. It just doesn't end. It just doesn't end, folks. And they do this over and over and over. And I guess the large masses of people don't catch on. At least they're not speaking out. I know I'm speaking to the choir here. I want to say that. I know that I'm speaking. If you're listening to my voice, you at least are stirring in your sleep, if not awake. Okay? We have to reach out to those that have no idea somehow. We have to reach out to them. Because I tell you what, there's a lot of women and children in these other countries, and we have to care about others. We have to. If we don't care about others now, and right now is an extremely pivotal time, if we don't care about others, who the hell is going to be left to care about us? Good question. Anyway, as I've been closing the monologues up, like I do the end of the shows, I will say God bless you all, we love you all, and be one with your spirit.